I ghosted my cheating wife after she called me a loser and cheated with a friend of mine. The story of the man and Lucy begins in the vibrant halls of their college, where a friendship blossomed amidst late-night study sessions and shared dreams. They were inseparable, two souls navigating the complexities of young adulthood together. Their bond was forged in laughter and mutual support, as they encouraged each other through exams, heartbreaks, and the uncertainties of life. It was during these formative years that their connection deepened, evolving from a simple friendship into something more profound. They shared countless moments that would become the foundation of their relationship. Spontaneous road trips, quiet evenings spent discussing their aspirations, and the comfort of knowing they had each other's backs no matter what. As graduation approached, the natural progression of their relationship led them to realize that they were meant to be more than just friends. Their love story took a significant turn when they decided to take the plunge into marriage, believing wholeheartedly that they could face the world together. The wedding was a celebration of their journey, surrounded by friends and family who had witnessed their growth from college companions to life partners. It was a day filled with joy, laughter, and promises of forever, a testament to the deep emotional connection they had cultivated over the years. However, like many couples, they faced challenges that tested the strength of their bond. Shortly after their wedding, career opportunities arose that required them to navigate long-distance periods. The man took a job in a different city, while Lucy pursued her own ambitions elsewhere. This separation was not easy. It brought about feelings of loneliness and uncertainty. They relied heavily on technology to bridge the gap, scheduling video calls and sending heartfelt messages to maintain their connection. Despite the miles that separated them, they made a conscious effort to keep the flame of their love alive, often reminiscing about their college days and the dreams they had shared. These long-distance periods were challenging, but they also served to strengthen their emotional connection. They learned to communicate more openly, sharing their fears and aspirations in ways they hadn't before. The absence made their hearts grow fonder, and they began to appreciate the little things about each other even more. Each reunion was a celebration, filled with excitement and the reaffirmation of their commitment to one another. They would often reflect on how their friendship had laid the groundwork for their marriage, allowing them to navigate the complexities of love with a sense of understanding and camaraderie. As the years went by, they faced various life challenges together: career changes, family dynamics, and the inevitable ups and downs that come with any long-term relationship. Yet, through it all, the foundation of their marriage remained rooted in the deep emotional connection they had built during their college years. They were not just partners. They were best friends who could lean on each other during tough times. This friendship was the bedrock of their relationship, allowing them to weather storms and celebrate victories together. The man often reflected on how their history shaped their marriage. The shared experiences, the laughter, and even the struggles had woven a rich tapestry of memories that defined their life together. He cherished the moments spent reminiscing about their college days, the inside jokes that only they understood, and the unwavering support they provided each other. It was this emotional intimacy that made their bond unique, allowing them to navigate the complexities of life with a sense of unity. In essence, their relationship was a beautiful blend of friendship and love, a partnership that had evolved over time. The challenges they faced only served to deepen their connection, reinforcing the idea that true love is not just about the good times, but also about standing together through adversity. As they continued their journey, the man held on to the belief that their history and bond would guide them through whatever lay ahead, reminding him of the strength that comes from a relationship built on friendship, trust, and unwavering support. The atmosphere was electric as the college reunion approached, a much-anticipated event that promised to rekindle old friendships and revive cherished memories. The campus, once bustling with youthful energy, was now adorned with familiar sights that evoked nostalgia. Banners hung proudly, welcoming alumni back to their alma mater, while laughter and chatter filled the air as old friends reunited. The man felt a mix of excitement and apprehension as he prepared to see Lucy again, knowing that this gathering would be a chance to reconnect with the people who had shaped their lives during those formative years. As they arrived at the reunion, the couple was greeted by a wave of familiar faces, each one sparking memories of late-night study sessions and carefree days spent exploring the campus. The man and Lucy moved through the crowd, exchanging hugs and laughter with old friends, reminiscing about shared experiences that had defined their college years. The joy of reconnecting was palpable, but beneath the surface, an undercurrent of tension began to emerge, one that would soon unravel the fabric of their relationship. Among the attendees was Rick, a charismatic classmate who had always harbored a quiet admiration for Lucy. He was the kind of guy who effortlessly drew people in with his charm and wit, and the man had always been aware of the lingering glances Rick would cast in Lucy's direction during their college days. As they mingled, Rick approached the couple with a broad smile, his eyes lighting up at the sight of Lucy. The man felt a twinge of discomfort as he watched the two engage in conversation, their chemistry undeniable. Rick's compliments flowed easily, and Lucy responded with laughter that seemed to linger a moment too long, igniting a flicker of unease in the man's heart. As the evening progressed, the man noticed the subtle shifts in Lucy's demeanor whenever Rick was nearby. Their interactions were filled with an ease that felt unsettling, as if they were sharing a private joke that he wasn't a part of. The man tried to brush off his concerns, attributing them to the excitement of the reunion and the nostalgia that often accompanies such gatherings. However, the more he observed, the more he felt a sense of foreboding creeping in. It was as if the universe was sending him signals he couldn't ignore. During a group activity, the man found himself standing a few feet away, watching as Lucy and Rick teamed up for a game. Their laughter rang out, and the way Rick leaned in closer to Lucy, whispering something that made her giggle, sent a chill down the man's spine. He felt an inexplicable knot tightening in his stomach, a feeling that something was amiss. The camaraderie they shared was palpable, and it left him feeling like an outsider in a moment that should have been filled with joy. As the night wore on, the uncomfortable interactions continued to unfold. At one point, Lucy and Rick stepped away from the group to grab drinks, and the man felt an overwhelming urge to follow them. He resisted, reminding himself that they were just friends catching up, but the gnawing feeling of unease persisted. When they returned, Lucy's cheeks were flushed, and her laughter seemed a touch too bright, as if she were trying to mask something beneath the surface. The man's heart raced as he tried to shake off the feeling that this reunion was not just a celebration of their past, but a precursor to something far more painful. Later in the evening, as the group gathered for a toast, the man caught Rick's gaze lingering on Lucy, a look that was both admiring and possessive. It was a fleeting moment, but it felt like a punch to the gut. The man raised his glass, forcing a smile as he joined in the cheers, but inside, he felt a storm brewing. The camaraderie that had once defined their college experience now felt tainted, overshadowed by the unsettling interactions that had unfolded throughout the night. As the reunion drew to a close, the man couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. The excitement that had initially filled him was now replaced with a sense of dread. He glanced at Lucy, who was animatedly chatting with old friends, her laughter ringing out like a siren's call. In that moment, he realized that the events of the night had unearthed a vulnerability he hadn't anticipated, one that would soon lead him down a path of heartache and betrayal. The reunion, meant to celebrate their love and shared history, had instead become the catalyst for a revelation that would change everything. The atmosphere in their living room was thick with tension as Lucy sat across from the man, her hands trembling slightly in her lap. The soft glow of the lamp cast shadows on her face, highlighting the turmoil that was evident in her eyes. She had been distant for weeks, and he could sense that something was weighing heavily on her heart. As she took a deep breath, he felt a knot tighten in his stomach, an instinctual recognition that the moment had come for her to reveal whatever secret had been gnawing at her. Lucy's voice trembled as she began to speak, her words coming out in a rush, as if she were desperate to unburden herself. "I need to tell you something," she said, her eyes welling with tears. "Something that I've been hiding from you." The man's heart raced, and he felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. He could see the pain etched on her face, and it was clear that this confession was tearing her apart. As she continued, her voice cracked, and the tears began to flow freely down her cheeks. "I cheated on you," she finally admitted, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the air. In that moment, time seemed to stand still. The man's mind raced, grappling with the reality of her confession. Shock washed over him like a tidal wave, leaving him momentarily speechless. He felt as if the ground had been pulled out from under him, and he was left suspended in disbelief. "What do you mean you cheated?" he managed to stammer, his voice barely above a whisper. The words felt foreign, as if they belonged to someone else's story, not his. He searched her face for any sign of a joke, a glimmer of hope that this was all a misunderstanding, but the anguish in her eyes told him otherwise. Lucy's emotional state was a whirlwind of guilt and sorrow. She looked utterly broken, her body shaking as she recounted the events that had led to her betrayal. "It was a mistake," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "I never meant for it to happen. I was confused, and I didn't know how to handle it." Each word felt like a dagger to the man's heart, piercing through the trust they had built over the years. He listened, but the details blurred together, drowned out by the deafening sound of his own heartbeat. The implications of her actions began to sink in, and he felt a wave of nausea wash over him. As Lucy continued to speak, the man's mind raced with questions. How could she do this? What had gone wrong in their relationship? The memories of their shared laughter, the dreams they had built together, and the love they had nurtured felt like a distant echo. The betrayal was not just a breach of trust. It was a shattering of the very foundation of their life together. He felt anger bubbling beneath the surface, but it was quickly overshadowed by a profound sense of loss. The realization that the woman he loved had chosen to be with someone else was a blow he had never anticipated. The silence that followed her confession was deafening. The man struggled to process the whirlwind of emotions swirling within him: hurt, anger, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. He felt as if he were standing on the edge of a precipice, staring into an abyss that threatened to swallow him whole. "How could you?" he finally managed to ask, his voice trembling with a mix of pain and disbelief. The question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their shared history. Lucy's response was filled with remorse, her voice barely audible as she tried to explain her actions. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said, her eyes pleading for understanding. "I was scared, and I made a terrible mistake." But her words felt hollow to the man, a feeble attempt to justify the unthinkable. The implications of her betrayal loomed large, casting a shadow over everything they had built together. He couldn't help but wonder if their love had ever been as strong as he believed, or if it had been a fragile facade all along. As the reality of the situation settled in, the man felt a profound sense of grief wash over him. The future they had envisioned together now felt uncertain and fragile. The trust that had once been the cornerstone of their relationship lay in ruins, and he grappled with the question of whether it could ever be rebuilt. The emotional fallout of Lucy's confession would reverberate through their lives, leaving scars that might never fully heal. In that moment, he realized that their love story had taken a devastating turn, and the path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty. The man sat in stunned silence, grappling with the enormity of what had just transpired, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. In the days following Lucy's confession, the man found himself engulfed in a storm of emotions that left him feeling disoriented and lost. The initial shock had given way to a deep-seated pain that permeated every aspect of his life. He replayed the moment of her admission over and over in his mind, grappling with the betrayal that had shattered the trust they had built together. As he navigated through the haze of confusion and heartache, a decision began to crystallize in his mind. He needed to leave Lucy. The thought process that led to this decision was not instantaneous. It was a gradual realization that emerged from the depths of his emotional turmoil. He spent countless nights lying awake, wrestling with the implications of her actions. The love they had shared felt tainted, and he struggled to reconcile the memories of their joyful moments with the painful reality of her betrayal. Each time he looked at her, he was reminded of the hurt, and the thought of rebuilding their relationship seemed insurmountable. The idea of staying together felt like a betrayal to himself, a denial of the pain that had been inflicted upon him. Ghosting Lucy became a way to protect himself from further emotional harm. He recognized that he needed distance to heal, to regain a sense of clarity that had been clouded by the chaos of their situation. The thought of confronting her, of discussing the intricacies of their relationship and the possibility of forgiveness, felt overwhelming. He feared that any interaction would only reopen wounds that were still fresh, dragging him deeper into a cycle of pain and confusion. The decision to ghost her was not made lightly. It was a desperate attempt to reclaim his autonomy and find solace in solitude. The emotional turmoil he experienced was profound. He felt a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal, all swirling together in a tumultuous sea of feelings. The man had invested so much in their relationship, and the realization that it could all come crashing down in an instant was devastating. He longed for the comfort of their shared life, but the thought of facing Lucy, of seeing the remorse in her eyes, was too much to bear. He needed to create a barrier between them, a protective shield that would allow him to process his emotions without the weight of her presence. Once the decision was made, the immediate actions he took were both deliberate and instinctual. He began by packing a few essentials, his heart heavy with the knowledge that he was leaving behind not just a home, but a life they had built together. Each item he placed in the bag felt like a reminder of what had been lost, and he fought back tears as he moved through their shared space. The memories of laughter and love echoed in his mind, but they were now overshadowed by the betrayal that had shattered everything. After packing, he took one last look around the apartment, a place that had once felt like a sanctuary but now felt like a prison. The walls seemed to close in on him, suffocating him with the weight of their shared history. He knew he had to leave before the pain became unbearable, before he found himself trapped in a cycle of blame and regret. With a heavy heart, he stepped out the door, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow wash over him. As he drove away, the man felt a sense of liberation mingled with grief. The road ahead was uncertain, but he knew that he needed to carve out a new path for himself, one that didn't include the shadows of betrayal. He sought solace in the open road, allowing the wind to whip through the car windows as he drove aimlessly, searching for a place where he could begin to heal. The decision to ghost Lucy was not just about escaping the pain. It was about reclaiming his identity and finding a way to move forward. In the days that followed, he focused on self-care, immersing himself in activities that brought him joy and comfort. He reconnected with old friends, sought solace in nature, and allowed himself to grieve the loss of the relationship. The emotional distance he had created was necessary for his healing process, and he began to understand that sometimes, stepping away is the first step toward finding oneself again. The man knew that the journey ahead would be challenging, but he was determined to emerge stronger, ready to face whatever life had in store for him. Leaving Lucy was not just an act of separation. It was a declaration of self-worth, a commitment to prioritize his own emotional well-being in the wake of heartbreak. As the man sat on the edge of his son's bed, he felt a heavy weight settle on his chest. The room was filled with the remnants of childhood, posters on the walls, toys scattered across the floor, and the faint smell of his son's favorite snacks lingering in the air. He knew that the conversation he was about to have would change everything, not just for him, but for his children as well. With a deep breath, he steeled himself for the difficult task of explaining the situation regarding Lucy's infidelity. "Hey, buddy," he began, his voice steady but soft. "Can we talk for a minute?" His son looked up from his video game, sensing the seriousness in his father's tone. He nodded, setting the controller aside and giving his dad his full attention. The man felt a pang of sadness at the thought of disrupting his son's carefree world, but he knew that honesty was essential. "I need to tell you something important about me and your mom." As he spoke, he chose his words carefully, aiming to convey the gravity of the situation without overwhelming his son. "You know how sometimes people make mistakes? Well, your mom made a mistake that hurt me, and it's something we can't just fix." He watched as confusion flickered across his son's face, followed by a dawning realization. "What do you mean, Dad?" the boy asked, his voice small. "Did she do something bad?" The man took a deep breath, feeling the lump in his throat tighten. "Yes, she did something that broke our trust. She was unfaithful to me." The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their implications. He could see the shock wash over his son's face, the innocence of childhood colliding with the harsh reality of adult relationships. "But why?" his son asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. "Does that mean you're not going to be together anymore?" The man nodded, feeling tears prick at the corners of his eyes. Yes, it means that we're going to separate for a while. It's really hard for me, and I know it's hard for you too. He watched as his son processed the information, the emotional impact evident in the way his shoulders slumped and his gaze dropped to the floor. I don't want you to think this is your fault, he added quickly, wanting to reassure him. This is between your mom and me, and we both love you very much. His son's reaction was a mix of sadness and anger. I don't want you to separate. I want things to go back to how they were. The boy's voice cracked, and the man felt his heart ache for the pain his son was experiencing. I know, buddy. I wish things could go back to normal too, he replied, his voice thick with emotion. But sometimes, people make choices that change everything, and we have to find a way to move forward. As the conversation unfolded, the man emphasized the importance of maintaining their family bonds despite the separation. Even though your mom and I won't be living together anymore, we're still a family, he said, trying to instill a sense of hope. We'll still have our time together, and we'll always be here for you. You can talk to us about anything, and we'll work through this together. He wanted his son to understand that love was not contingent on living arrangements, and that their family unit could still thrive, even in a new form. The emotional impact on his son was palpable, and the man felt a surge of protectiveness wash over him. He wrapped his arms around the boy, pulling him close as they both fought back tears. It's okay to feel sad or angry, he whispered, holding him tightly. I'm here for you, and we'll get through this together. The boy nodded against his father's shoulder, his small frame trembling with the weight of his emotions. After their conversation, the man made a point to check in with his daughter as well. He knew that she would also need support and reassurance during this tumultuous time. Sitting down with her, he explained the situation in a way that was age-appropriate, emphasizing that both parents loved her deeply and that they would always be a family, no matter what. Her reaction mirrored her brother's, a mixture of confusion and sadness, but he made sure to listen to her feelings and validate her emotions. In the days that followed, the man focused on creating a sense of stability for his children. He encouraged open communication, allowing them to express their feelings without judgment. Family dinners became a priority, and he made an effort to engage in activities that brought them joy, reinforcing the idea that their bond remained intact despite the changes in their family dynamic. Through it all, the man understood that while the road ahead would be challenging, the love they shared as a family would be the anchor that kept them grounded. He was determined to navigate this new chapter with compassion and understanding, ensuring that his children felt supported and loved every step of the way. In the face of heartbreak, he found solace in the resilience of family, knowing that together they could weather any storm. As the man began to navigate the emotional aftermath of Lucy's infidelity, he knew that the next step in his journey would involve the legal complexities of divorce. The weight of the situation pressed heavily on his shoulders, but he understood that clarity and action were necessary to move forward. With a mix of apprehension and determination, he scheduled a consultation with a divorce lawyer, seeking guidance on how to approach the legal process. The meeting with the lawyer was both enlightening and overwhelming. As he sat in the office, surrounded by bookshelves filled with legal texts, he felt a sense of gravity settle in. The lawyer explained the various steps involved in the divorce process, from filing the initial paperwork to negotiating terms. The man listened intently, absorbing the information while grappling with the emotional turmoil that accompanied the discussion. He learned about the importance of documenting assets, understanding debts, and the potential implications of child custody arrangements. Each detail felt like a reminder of the life he had built with Lucy, now unraveling before him. During the consultation, the lawyer emphasized the need for a clear and fair approach to asset division. The man was relieved to hear that many couples opted for an equitable split, especially when children were involved. He had always believed in fairness, and despite the betrayal he had experienced, he was committed to ensuring that the divorce process would be as amicable as possible. He wanted to avoid unnecessary conflict, recognizing that their children would be affected by the decisions made during this time. After the consultation, the man took time to reflect on the assets they had accumulated over the years. He and Lucy had worked hard to build a life together, and he felt a deep sense of responsibility to approach the division of their assets with integrity. He made a list of everything they owned: the house, the cars, savings accounts, and personal belongings, and began to assess their value. He understood that while the emotional scars from Lucy's betrayal were still fresh, it was crucial to separate those feelings from the practicalities of their situation. In discussions with Lucy, he proposed that they split their assets evenly. He believed that this decision would not only reflect their shared contributions to their life together, but also set a tone of respect and cooperation moving forward. "I think it's important that we both walk away with what we deserve," he said during one of their conversations. "We built this life together, and I want to make sure it's fair for both of us." Lucy seemed taken aback by his willingness to approach the situation with such fairness, but he could see a flicker of appreciation in her eyes. The man's commitment to fairness was rooted in his desire to maintain a sense of dignity throughout the process. He recognized that the emotional pain of betrayal could easily lead to vindictiveness, but he was determined not to let that happen. He wanted to model healthy behavior for their children, demonstrating that even in the face of adversity, it was possible to act with integrity and respect. He believed that how they handled the divorce would set the stage for their future co-parenting relationship, and he was committed to making it as smooth as possible. As the legal process unfolded, the man found himself navigating various negotiations and discussions regarding their shared assets. They agreed to divide their savings and investments evenly, and he suggested that they sell the family home, allowing both of them to start anew. The decision to sell the house was bittersweet. It had been a place filled with memories, laughter, and love, but it also represented a chapter that had come to an end. He wanted to ensure that both he and Lucy could find new spaces that felt like home, free from the weight of their past. Throughout the process, the man remained focused on the bigger picture. He understood that the divorce was not just about dividing assets. It was about creating a new reality for himself and his children. He made it a priority to keep communication open with Lucy, discussing their children's needs and how they could best support them during this transition. He wanted to ensure that their kids felt secure and loved, even as their family structure changed. As the divorce proceedings continued, the man felt a sense of empowerment in taking control of his life. He was determined to emerge from this experience not only as a survivor of betrayal, but as a person who could navigate challenges with grace and fairness. The commitment to equitable asset division was a reflection of his values, and he hoped it would pave the way for a healthier relationship with Lucy as they moved forward as co-parents. In the end, the man understood that while the divorce was a painful chapter in his life, it was also an opportunity for growth and renewal. He was ready to embrace the future, armed with the lessons learned from his past, and a commitment to fairness that would guide him in all his relationships moving forward. The journey ahead would not be easy, but he was determined to face it with resilience and integrity, ensuring that his children would always feel the love and support of both their parents, no matter the circumstances. In the wake of the separation, Lucy found herself spiraling into a profound emotional decline that she had never anticipated. The initial shock of her actions and the subsequent fallout weighed heavily on her heart, leading her into a dark abyss of depression. The guilt of her betrayal consumed her, and she struggled to navigate the overwhelming feelings of loss and regret. Each day felt like an uphill battle, and the once vibrant woman who had filled her life with laughter and joy now felt like a mere shadow of herself. As the weeks turned into months, Lucy's mental health deteriorated further. She found it increasingly difficult to get out of bed, her motivation waning as she grappled with feelings of worthlessness. The guilt of hurting her family loomed large, and she often replayed the moments leading up to the separation in her mind, wishing she could turn back time. Friends and family began to notice the changes in her demeanor. The sparkle in her eyes had dulled, and her laughter had become a rare occurrence. Concerned for her well-being, they reached out, but Lucy often brushed them off, too ashamed to admit the depth of her struggles. Eventually, the weight of her depression became too much to bear. One fateful evening, after a particularly difficult day, Lucy found herself in a state of despair that she could no longer manage alone. She realized that she needed help, and with a heavy heart, she reached out to a close friend who had been a constant source of support throughout her life. Her friend immediately recognized the severity of the situation and urged Lucy to seek professional help. It was a pivotal moment for Lucy, one that marked the beginning of her journey toward recovery. After consulting with a mental health professional, Lucy was admitted to a hospital for treatment. The decision to enter a facility was daunting, but she understood that it was necessary for her healing. The days spent in the hospital were filled with therapy sessions, medication adjustments, and moments of introspection. At first, she felt overwhelmed by the environment, surrounded by others who were also battling their demons. However, as she began to engage in group therapy, she found solace in the shared experiences of others. Hearing their stories helped her realize that she was not alone in her struggles, and it sparked a flicker of hope within her. During her hospitalization, Lucy's friends and family rallied around her, providing unwavering support. They visited her regularly, bringing small tokens of love, a favorite book, handwritten letters, or even just their presence. Their encouragement became a lifeline, reminding her that she was still valued and loved despite her mistakes. Her children, though they were navigating their own feelings about the separation, also played a crucial role in her recovery. Lucy found strength in their innocence and love, motivating her to work toward becoming a better version of herself. As the weeks passed, Lucy began to engage more actively in her recovery process. She participated in individual therapy sessions, where she confronted the underlying issues that had contributed to her infidelity and emotional decline. Through these sessions, she learned to process her feelings of guilt and shame, gradually understanding that while her actions had consequences, they did not define her worth as a person. The journey was not easy. There were days when she felt like giving up, but the support of her friends and family kept her anchored. The importance of mental health became increasingly clear to Lucy as she navigated her recovery. She learned that seeking help was not a sign of weakness, but rather an act of courage. The stigma surrounding mental health began to dissipate as she opened up about her experiences, and she found empowerment in sharing her story with others. She realized that by being vulnerable, she could help break down barriers and encourage others to seek the support they needed. As Lucy transitioned out of the hospital, she continued to prioritize her mental health. She established a routine that included therapy sessions, mindfulness practices, and regular check-ins with her support system. She also began to engage in activities that brought her joy, such as painting and spending time in nature. These small steps became vital in her journey toward healing, allowing her to reconnect with herself and rediscover the passions that had once defined her. Throughout her recovery, Lucy learned the importance of maintaining a strong support system. She surrounded herself with friends who uplifted her and distanced herself from negative influences that could hinder her progress. The bonds she formed during her time in the hospital with fellow patients also became a source of strength. They shared their struggles and triumphs, creating a sense of community that fostered healing. In time, Lucy began to see glimmers of hope in her life. The darkness that had once enveloped her started to lift, and she began to embrace the possibility of a brighter future. While the journey was far from over, she felt empowered to take control of her life and make amends for her past mistakes. The road to recovery was filled with ups and downs, but Lucy was determined to emerge stronger, more resilient, and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Ultimately, Lucy's journey highlighted the profound impact of mental health and the importance of support systems in overcoming adversity. She learned that healing was not a linear process, but rather a series of steps that required patience, self-compassion, and the unwavering support of loved ones. As she continued to rebuild her life, she carried with her the lessons learned during her darkest days, determined to create a future filled with hope, love, and understanding. In the aftermath of the separation, the man found himself at a crossroads, grappling with the emotional fallout of his marriage's end. While the pain of betrayal lingered, he recognized that this was also an opportunity for renewal and self-discovery. Determined to rebuild his life, he made the bold decision to embark on a journey of exploration, both externally and internally. This marked the beginning of a transformative chapter, one that would lead him to new cultures, experiences, and ultimately, a deeper understanding of himself. With a newfound sense of freedom, the man began to travel extensively, seeking solace in the beauty of the world around him. He started with short trips to nearby cities, immersing himself in the local culture, cuisine, and traditions. Each destination offered a fresh perspective, allowing him to step outside the confines of his previous life and embrace the unknown. He wandered through bustling markets, tasted exotic dishes, and engaged in conversations with locals, each interaction enriching his understanding of the world. These experiences became a balm for his soul, helping him heal from the wounds of his past. As he ventured further, the man decided to explore international destinations that had always intrigued him. He found himself hiking the ancient trails of Machu Picchu in Peru, marveling at the breathtaking landscapes and the rich history that surrounded him. In Japan, he participated in a traditional tea ceremony, learning the art of mindfulness and appreciation for the present moment. Each journey was a lesson in resilience and adaptability, teaching him to embrace uncertainty and find joy in the little things. The more he traveled, the more he realized that the world was vast and full of possibilities, a stark contrast to the confines of his previous life. The importance of self-discovery became increasingly evident as he navigated through different cultures. He began to reflect on his own values, beliefs, and aspirations, questioning what truly mattered to him. The separation had stripped away the layers of his former identity, leaving him with the opportunity to redefine himself on his own terms. He took time to journal his thoughts and feelings, documenting his journey of healing and growth. Through this process, he discovered passions he had long neglected: writing, photography, and a love for nature. Each new experience became a stepping stone toward understanding who he was beyond the roles he had played in his marriage and as a father. As the months passed, the man made a pivotal decision. He would embrace a nomadic lifestyle. The idea of living on the road, free from the constraints of a permanent home, resonated deeply with him. He envisioned a life filled with adventure, spontaneity, and the freedom to explore the world at his own pace. With this decision came a sense of liberation. He could let go of the past and fully immerse himself in the present. He sold most of his belongings, keeping only what was essential, and invested in a reliable van that would serve as his home on wheels. The transition to a nomadic lifestyle was both exhilarating and challenging. Initially, he faced moments of uncertainty as he adjusted to life on the road. There were days when he felt lonely, missing the familiarity of home and the comfort of routine. However, he quickly learned to embrace the unpredictability of his new life. He discovered the joy of waking up to a different view each morning, whether it was a serene beach, a majestic mountain range, or a vibrant cityscape. The freedom to choose his path each day became a source of empowerment, allowing him to cultivate a deeper connection with himself and the world around him. As he traveled, the man also made a conscious effort to connect with others along the way. He joined communities of fellow nomads, sharing stories and experiences that enriched his journey. These connections reminded him of the importance of human relationships, even in a transient lifestyle. He formed friendships with people from diverse backgrounds, each encounter adding depth to his understanding of the human experience. Through shared meals, campfire conversations, and collaborative adventures, he found a sense of belonging that transcended physical locations. The man's journey of rebuilding his life was not just about travel. It was a holistic approach to personal growth. He embraced practices such as meditation and yoga, which helped him cultivate mindfulness and inner peace. He learned to listen to his intuition, allowing it to guide him in making decisions that aligned with his values. The process of self-discovery became a continuous journey, one that encouraged him to confront his fears, embrace vulnerability, and celebrate his strengths. As he explored new cultures and landscapes, the man began to see the beauty in impermanence. He understood that life was a series of chapters, each with its own lessons and opportunities for growth. The pain of his past no longer defined him. Instead, it became a catalyst for transformation. He emerged from this experience with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to embrace whatever the future held. In the end, the man's decision to embrace a nomadic lifestyle was a testament to his resilience and commitment to personal growth. He had turned a painful separation into a journey of exploration, self-discovery, and connection. As he traveled the world, he carried with him the lessons learned from his past, using them as a foundation for a brighter, more fulfilling future. The road ahead was uncertain, but he was ready to face it with an open heart and a spirit of adventure, knowing that life was meant to be lived fully and authentically. The day of their son's wedding arrived, a momentous occasion that was both joyous and bittersweet for the man and Lucy. As he stood in the bustling venue, surrounded by friends and family, he felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The air was filled with laughter, the scent of fresh flowers, and the soft melodies of a string quartet. But beneath the surface, a tension lingered. This would be the first time he and Lucy would see each other since their separation, and the thought of their reunion sent a wave of anxiety coursing through him. As the ceremony began, the man watched their son, radiant in his tuxedo, standing at the altar with a look of pure love and anticipation. The sight of his son, so grown and ready to embark on this new chapter, filled him with pride. Yet, as he glanced toward the front row, he spotted Lucy, her presence both familiar and foreign. She looked beautiful, dressed in a soft blue gown that accentuated her features, but there was a vulnerability in her expression that tugged at his heart. He could see the emotions swirling within her, nervousness, hope, and perhaps a hint of regret. When the ceremony concluded, the couple exchanged vows, and the moment their son and his bride shared their first kiss as a married couple was met with cheers and applause. The man felt a swell of happiness, but as the crowd began to disperse, he knew that he could no longer avoid the inevitable encounter with Lucy. Taking a deep breath, he steeled himself and made his way toward her, his heart racing with each step. "Hey," he said softly, trying to keep his voice steady as he approached her. Lucy turned to face him, her eyes widening in surprise. For a moment, they simply stood there, taking each other in, the weight of their shared history hanging heavily in the air. "You look amazing," he added, a genuine smile breaking through his nervousness. "Thank you," Lucy replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and he could see the emotions bubbling just beneath the surface. "It's so good to see you." The sincerity in her tone struck a chord within him, and he felt a rush of warmth as they exchanged a tentative embrace. It was a moment filled with unspoken words, a recognition of the journey they had both traveled since their separation. As they pulled away, the dynamics of their encounter shifted. The initial awkwardness began to dissolve, replaced by a shared understanding of the significance of the day. They were both there to celebrate their son's love, and in that moment, they were united by a common purpose. Lucy's smile was tinged with nostalgia, and he could sense the weight of their past lingering in the air. "I can't believe he's all grown up," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "It feels like just yesterday we were watching him take his first steps." The impact of the reunion was profound for both of them. For the man, seeing Lucy again stirred up a whirlwind of emotions, remnants of love, pain, and the bittersweet memories of their shared life. He had spent so much time focusing on his own healing and growth, yet standing before her brought back a flood of memories that he had tucked away. He felt a mix of longing and acceptance, recognizing that while their relationship had changed, the bond they shared as co-parents would always remain. For Lucy, the encounter was equally transformative. She had spent months working on herself, grappling with the consequences of her actions, and striving for redemption. Seeing the man again brought forth a rush of emotions, regret for the past, gratitude for the present, and a flicker of hope for the future. She realized that while they had both endured heartache, they had also grown individually, and this reunion marked a new chapter in their relationship. It was a chance to acknowledge their shared history while embracing the possibility of a more amicable connection moving forward. As the evening progressed, their children played a pivotal role in supporting their parents during this emotional reunion. Their son and daughter, both aware of the complexities of their parents' relationship, had been quietly observing the interaction. They approached, smiles on their faces, and wrapped their arms around both parents, creating a circle of love and unity. "I'm so glad you're both here," their son said, beaming with joy. "This day wouldn't be complete without you both." The warmth of their children's embrace served as a reminder of the love that still existed within their family, despite the challenges they had faced. It was a moment of healing, a recognition that while their family structure had changed, the love they shared as parents would always bind them together. Lucy and the man exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. They both understood that their children were the true treasures of their past, and their happiness was paramount. As the night wore on, the man and Lucy found themselves sharing laughter and stories, reminiscing about the early days of their relationship and the joys of parenthood. The emotional barriers that had once separated them began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and mutual respect. They were no longer defined by their past mistakes. Instead, they were two individuals who had weathered the storm and emerged stronger. In that moment, surrounded by their children and the love that filled the room, the man felt a sense of closure. The reunion with Lucy was not just about revisiting the past. It was about embracing the present and looking toward the future. They had both grown, and while their romantic relationship had ended, the bond they shared as co-parents remained unbreakable. As they watched their son and daughter dance together, the man realized that love, in all its forms, had the power to heal and transform, and he was grateful for the journey that had brought them to this moment. As we wrap up this video, let's take a moment to reflect on the key points we've discussed regarding the complexities of relationships, particularly in the context of infidelity and the journey toward healing. Throughout the narrative, we've seen how trust and communication serve as the bedrock of any healthy relationship. The man's experience with Lucy highlighted the devastating impact that betrayal can have when trust is broken. It's a poignant reminder that open and honest communication is essential in fostering a strong connection between partners. When issues arise, addressing them together can prevent misunderstandings and resentment from taking root. We also explored the emotional aftermath of infidelity, not just for the person who has been betrayed, but for the one who has strayed as well. Lucy's journey through guilt and depression after the separation underscores the importance of recognizing the emotional consequences of our choices. It's crucial to understand that our actions can have far-reaching effects on those we love, and taking the time to communicate openly can help mitigate some of that pain. This video serves as a call to action for viewers to evaluate their own relationships. Are you fostering an environment of trust and openness? Are you communicating your needs and feelings effectively? Reflecting on these questions can lead to healthier dynamics and stronger bonds. Moreover, we discussed the importance of self-discovery and personal growth in the aftermath of a relationship's end. The man's decision to travel and embrace a nomadic lifestyle was not just about escaping his past. It was about finding himself again. This journey of exploration and self-reflection is vital for anyone who has experienced a significant life change. It encourages viewers to consider how they can invest in their own personal growth, whether through travel, new hobbies, or simply taking the time to reflect on their values and aspirations. As we conclude, we invite you to think about your own choices and the relationships in your life. Are there areas where you can improve communication? Are there unresolved issues that need to be addressed? Remember, it's never too late to make positive changes. The journey toward healing and growth is ongoing, and every step you take can lead to a more fulfilling and authentic life. If you found this video insightful, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more content that delves into the intricacies of relationships, personal growth, and emotional well-being. Your support means the world to us, and by subscribing, you'll stay updated on our latest discussions and insights. Don't forget to like this video and share it with friends or loved ones who might benefit from these conversations. Together, we can foster a community that values trust, communication, and personal growth. Thank you for joining us on this journey today. We hope you found value in the stories shared and the lessons learned. Remember, every relationship has its challenges, but with trust, communication, and a commitment to growth, it's possible to navigate even the toughest situations. We look forward to seeing you in our next video, where we'll continue to explore the complexities of life and relationships. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.